This Wolverine let down his entire world.
Want to talk about what's haunting you, or should we wait for a third act flashback?
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Now that everyone has had a chance to rewatch the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer a billion more times, we found a ton more Easter eggs, more cameo scenes, way more references, like Punisher, for instance, Iron Man, more Fantastic Four references for the Chris Evans classic Fantastic Four movies. And we learned more about what's really going on with the new main villain, Cassandra Nova, and why Deadpool is so worried about the X-Men universe itself being totally destroyed, like the specific way they're adapting Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, even though it's more like their version of Deadpool Kills the Fox Marvel Universe. So we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. When we get a little closer to the movie coming out, I'll do a movie ticket giveaway again. It's been a while since I've done one of those, but it seems like Deadpool and Wolverine will be one of those movies that gets Marvel fans back in theaters.
It has been a long journey. It really has. It hasn't, though. It feels like it's gone by incredibly fast. I feel like we just got here. I feel like we never even left. I have no idea where I am in time and space.
Kevin Feige also teased that they would have the raunchiest, most WTF Deadpool popcorn bucket ever, and that Deadpool himself will design it. Like they'll explain in the context, Deadpool, the fictional character, will have created it. You can let me know what you think that popcorn bucket is going to be and how they're going to top the Dune popcorn bucket. Just starting with the biggest hidden details and Easter eggs that I didn't cover in my last video. Iron Man. Yes, there is a really huge Iron Man Easter egg that some of you spotted in the trailer, and it goes way deeper than you think, but it's a real quick blink and you'll miss it kind of moment. Later in the movie, when Deadpool and Wolverine look like they're getting captured on the Void Planet by Cassandra Nova's roving Mad Max-looking band of Fox Marvel characters, they're a collection of people from the Fox Marvel movies like X-Men, Fantastic Four, Thomas Jane's Punisher movie. They get captured and hauled back to Ant-Man's dead body where they made their base. There's a montage during that part of the trailer where we see some of their convoy of vehicles. All the vehicles are also supposed to be from Marvel movies, like some of them MCU Marvel movies, not just the Fox Marvel movies. The important one here is Red Skull's car from the first Captain America movie that Pyro is sitting on. But here's the thing, zoom in and hands on this particular scene of the front of Red Skull's car. Notice that at some point, a version of Tony Stark from another universe swapped the Red Skull's Hydra hood ornament for one of his own Iron Man hood ornaments, and repainted and modified the car, turning it into more of a hot rod that looks similar to the hot rod he was working on during the events of the first Iron Man movie.
To leave an hour and a half ago.
That's funny. I thought with it being my plane and all, that it would just wait for me to get
Tony,
there.
I need to...
Here's the thing with this. All the X-Men, Fantastic Four, Fox Marvel characters here have just been collecting junk that gets pruned by the TVA and sent to the void all over the place, just repurposing it. So this Iron Man themed Red Skull car got pruned at some point from another universe and then sent to the void looking like this. It's not like the X-Men did a repaint to make it look exactly like Tony Stark's hot rod during the first Iron Man movie and then put Iron Man's hood ornament on it. Tony Stark did this in another universe, then it got pruned. These characters just found the car sitting in a trash dump somewhere on the Void Planet and took it because it still ran and they needed another vehicle. So this means in the universe that this Iron Man car came from, they're implying that this version of Tony Stark bought Red Skull's car at some point or acquired it at some point and then just hot rodded it out like he tinkers with all of his collector's cars and regular supercars. I don't know that this necessarily means that that universe version of Iron Man was Hydra himself, like they had a Hydra Captain America joke during Avengers Endgame.
Hail Hydra.
You could take this as the movie clowning on rich people secretly collecting Nazi memorabilia, like Superior Iron Man was kind of a dick in the comics. Like there's a version of Iron Man out there in the multiverse that just went way off book and is collecting all kinds of stuff that he should not be collecting. And something that Iron Man did caused the Nexus event, and it had something to do with this Red Skull Hydra car. Maybe this happened at some point when the TVA was still maintaining the sanctity of the sacred timeline back when He Who Remains was still in control, and Iron Man collecting Nazi artifacts was just too off book for He Who Remains. Like, you know what? You could do a lot of stuff, but you can't do that. Him going down the Hydra rabbit hole just led to like a Dangerous Kang variant rising up. That was the whole thing with He Who Remains sacred timeline. He only had them pruning stuff because what he called Nexus events actually led to the rise of Dangerous Kang variants. Anything else that changed the timeline and didn't do that was allowed to happen. I don't think Robert Downey Jr. himself has a cameo in the movie though, but there are probably some more Iron Man armor pieces in the background, just like junk pieces of Stark tech all over the place. Really good example of that on the Void Planet is the Avengers Tower that got pruned because in that timeline it came from, it had been turned into Kang Industries, Qeng, who is a version of Kang from the comics. It was meant to reference a comic book storyline where a version of Kang goes into the past, buys the Avengers Tower, and basically takes over. Next big details that a lot of people missed were some of the cameo scenes here. This trailer doesn't reveal every single cameo that we've learned about. There was some CinemaCon footage with other cameo scenes I'll talk about in a second. But there were a couple people in this lineup here that people did not recognize immediately. I already talked about Lady Deathstrike and Azazel from the X-Men First Class movie, Toad, Pyro. All of them are being played by the original actors, like they just came back to play their characters again. This person here is Callisto from X-Men 3 Last Stand. There's some other references to X-Men Last Stand during the movie too. The other villain over here on the right in the striped shirt is actually meant to be a variant of the Russian from the Thomas Jane Punisher movie, which was actually released by Lionsgate, not by Fox. So there will be some other cameos and Easter eggs for other non-Fox, non-MCU Marvel movies. You have to remember that the rights to all the Marvel characters used to be a total nightmare. It was total chaos. Forget about all the Spider-Man sharing issues, Hulk movie rights problems they're still having in present day. The rights used to be way more complicated for everyone. During the original Thomas Jane Punisher movie, Kevin Nash played this Russian character. During the Deadpool and Wolverine movie, it's Billy Clements doing a version of that same character. There's another deep-cut Wrexham Easter egg. If you don't know, Ryan Reynolds owns the Wrexham Football Club in real life, so there are a lot of Wrexham Easter eggs in a lot of the stuff that he does, also particularly in the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. Of course, he's going to put a lot of Wrexham stuff in the movie. But early in the trailer, when you see Deadpool go to recruit this version of Wolverine in that bar, in the background, you see a cameo scene from Ollie Palmer. I don't know if there's going to be any other cameo scenes from other Wrexham players, so we'll see. And I'm sure there's going to be some more questions about this when the movie comes out because there's so many X-Men First Class Easter eggs also happening here, along with Bryan Singer X-Men movies. During the events of X-Men Days of Future Past, they basically canonized the original X-Men movies and the First Class X-Men movies to the same universe. So they're the same characters, just the First Class characters are from earlier in the timeline. So the James McAvoy version of Professor X is just meant to be the earlier version of Patrick Stewart's Professor X. So all the X-Men characters, for the most part, are meant to be from the same universe, just different timelines within that universe. That's another big question that people are still asking today. It happened all the time during my Loki videos, is what's the difference between alternate timelines and alternate universes? During Loki, they sort of use Nexus events to define what alternate universes were. When a Nexus event happens, like somebody does something that goes totally off book that wasn't planned, they create an alternate branch timeline. If that event that happens is a critical enough event in the history of that universe, it causes a Nexus event, and if that's allowed to continue go past Redline, that branch timeline evolves into a fully alternate universe, which is why in this scene here where you see all these branch timelines growing, some of them are bigger than others. The biggest ones are fully alternate universes. So it explains how you can have a bunch of different versions of Wolverine from the original X-Men universe, just different timelines within that universe where things went a little bit differently. It's also a way of explaining how the multiverse existed in a certain way before the events of Loki Season 1 when there was only the sacred timeline. You have to think of it as like cosmic rope. The whole idea is that a rope is typically made from a bunch of smaller ropes banded together. So you have one single timeline, but a bunch of smaller timelines sort of banded together close to each other with very subtle variations. After the events of Loki Season 2, they allow all those branches to just continue growing like the infinite multiverse, and there's just way more of those. Some of the other characters in this roster here in front of Ant-Man's head are totally covered, so it's a little too hard to pick them out, but because of the super deep-cut Punisher movie cameo here, don't be surprised that some of these X-Men, Fantastic Four cameos, other Marvel movies, are for much smaller side characters like super big deep cuts. They're supposed to reference Punisher in the movie in a bigger way, but because they're using the Punisher movie Easter egg here for the Thomas Jane version, I'm expecting that the Punisher they reference in the movie is Thomas Jane's version. I just did a new MCU Punisher video for John Bernthal's version a couple months ago, and he was actually at a gun range practicing with his guns with Thomas Jane. So you have two different versions of the Punisher here just hanging out. I don't expect Thomas Jane to come back as his Punisher during Daredevil Born Again, but it's always possible he could have a cameo scene during Deadpool and Wolverine, but I haven't heard any rumors about that. There are also supposed to be some Fox Marvel Fantastic Four cameos from those movies. We've already seen some Easter eggs for different versions of the Fantastic Four, like Toad here, for instance, from the first X-Men movie is driving the Fantastic Car, but it's not the version of the Fantastic Car from those movies, it's based more on the original version from the comics in the 1960s. But in Deadpool and Wolverine, Jessica Alba and Chris Evans are supposed to have cameo scenes at some point as their characters Sue Storm, Johnny Storm. I don't know if it's together or separately or like what the circumstances are behind them, but they're just supposed to appear in the movie in some way. People actually spotted Jessica Alba near the set where they were filming the movie last year, and the cast of the movie, just in general, said that Ryan Reynolds' secret superpower is getting his famous friends to come do cameos, so there was a constant stream of actors from the Fox Marvel movies coming to set to do cameos while they were filming. Ryan Reynolds' connection with Chris Evans actually goes back to Sean Levy's Free Guy movie. Sean Levy is the director of Deadpool and Wolverine, so like just another connection to Chris Evans. During that movie, they had some Marvel Easter eggs for Hulk, Captain America, the Avengers, and used the opportunity for a big Chris Evans Captain America joke.
What the shit?
If he's really in the movie, I don't know what he's supposed to be doing, but I'm expecting it to be another super quick blink and you'll miss it kind of moment like this, like in Free Guy. So early theory is they just use it for a similar type of joke where they play the Captain America theme music, but then big surprise, he's not Cap, he's Johnny Storm, and he's either killed off really quickly or leaves soon after. A long time ago, Chris Evans also talked about how he really did want to come back as his version of Johnny Storm. Like, he didn't want to come back as Cap quite so much, especially so soon, but he was totally willing to come back as Johnny Storm. Most of the Deadpool and Wolverine movie is supposed to take place on the Void Planet from Loki, but as we've seen in the trailers, there are a couple other universes that we see, like the original X-Men universe that Deadpool comes from. Like, they explained that during Deadpool 2. He comes from the main X-Men universe. The first-class characters here are the same characters as the original Bryan Singer X-Men characters. We know he goes to this alternate universe to find this different version of Wolverine. Then he goes to the TVA, which exists in its own little pocket dimension outside of other universes and timelines. So there are a couple other major locations. There are a couple other big cameos that we see during the TVA part of the movie. During the brand new CinemaCon footage that they didn't post online, there was a brand new Thor cameo scene. When Deadpool is here with Paradox, he's trying to convince him to take the job. They're offering him to go on missions for them like Loki did during Loki Season 1. He winds up showing Deadpool scenes from his own future where Thor is cradling his dead body, crying over him like they're best of friends. And Deadpool asks Paradox, what happened? Like, why would Thor be friends with Deadpool and what happened to Deadpool to get him killed? Paradox only says that he wasn't supposed to see this, but it's connected to this dangerous future and the reason why they're recruiting him in the first place. Early theory is because of what Cassandra Nova is doing on the Void here with the Alioth character. But the idea is it's meant to be a totally new Thor scene, so like Chris Hemsworth came and filmed a brand new cameo scene. Right after that, Deadpool agrees, breaking the fourth wall, saying that he will help them, but he wants the whole works, new gear, he wants all the cameo scenes, everything. So Deadpool knows that he's a fictional character inside a movie, but he's done things like that before. Then he breaks the fourth wall again, making a Disney and a Fox joke, running to camera, grabbing it, shaking the camera, saying, "Suck it, Fox, I'm going to Disneyland." One of the many, many Disney jokes in the movie, Deadpool has been making Disney jokes since the Fox Marvel days.
Why the holidays?
Thought it'd be fun.
Why PG-13?
It's a family movie, also money, also Disney.
If it wasn't clear, Deadpool and Wolverine will be rated R, but for those of you asking if they're going to release a PG-13 cut of it so that younger people can go like they did with Once Upon a Deadpool, I'm not expecting it, but because double dipping has been such a big practice from these big studios, like Avengers Endgame got released a couple times with some new footage, Spider-Man No Way Home got released with an extended version. Doing stuff like this has become commonplace, so we'll see. Speaking of more cameos from the MCU specifically, Hunter B-15 is supposed to return as her character after the events of Loki Season 2. I think that confirms that this TVA is the exact same one from the Loki series. If you look at this scene here of him walking through the door in the background, you can actually see the mural here depicts Loki's multiverse tree, so I think it just also confirms where it takes place in the timeline. Ryan Reynolds also replied to Miss Minutes on Twitter, kind of making me think that she might be in the movie too. She's a wacky character in the tone of Deadpool, so that would make sense. And getting to more of the X-Men cameos, we learned way more about this X-Men scene too. When Wolverine is at the graves of his X-Men team, I believe this scene is actually part of a memory of his that Cassandra Nova is using her powers to make him relive during their fight. Part of the idea during their fight is, yes, she's finger puppeting him like Magneto did during the first X-Men movie, but also using her telepathy, it looks like she forces him to relive his trauma, probably also messing with his mind, making it worse, turning into a much bigger nightmare. We might get some more of these X-Men cameo scenes during the flashback she gives him. Halle Berry was supposed to return as her version of Storm. Famke Janssen was adamant that she's not in the movie, but that could also be a lie. Actors do that all the time. And because of the big connection here, the big theory is why this Wolverine failed his world, his X-Men team. What did he do, or what did he fail to do? Biggest theory right now is that he failed to kill his Jean Grey during his version of X-Men 3 Last Stand, and as a result, Dark Phoenix killed all the X-Men. If you didn't spot it in the last big trailer, there's also a really big X-Men Last Stand Easter egg. The wreckage of the Golden Gate Bridge can be seen in the background here. It's from the movie In Another Universe. It's the bridge that Magneto uses his power to move, giving them access to the island. I don't know if there's going to be a Magneto cameo scene during the movie. There might just be some Easter eggs or references to Magneto. Ian McKellen did say that he wanted to come back, but we'll see. Because all the Cassandra Nova plot in the movie, I'm expecting some kind of Professor X scenes to explain her backstory and explain Wolverine's X-Men dying. And then there's this huge detail about Cassandra Nova's master plan in the movie. Remember, she's meant to be the main villain of the film. Why Deadpool was so worried about his X-Men universe being destroyed. So during the CinemaCon trailer Marvel release, there was a new scene of Paradox talking to Deadpool at the beginning of the movie in the interrogation room, and it's just meant to be the full version of that scene that we saw in the last trailer. During that, he tells Deadpool that the TVA knows all about him messing with Cable's time travel device, altering timelines, causing all kinds of chaos, but he says that the TVA does not care about it. There's a bigger threat out there that the TVA can't stop themselves, and that's why they're recruiting him. So the whole idea is that the TVA isn't threatening to prune that X-Men universe that he came from. And the bigger threat that he's talking about is probably Cassandra Nova on the Void Planet. Early theory why the TVA can't stop her themselves, because they're super powerful, they have crazy technology, and the reason why Deadpool is so worried about his universe being destroyed is because of the way her powers work. Remember, she's meant to be the twin of Professor X with the exact same powers. He's probably the most powerful telepath in the universe. And it looks like in the movie, Cassandra Nova is actually controlling Alioth now, like she's used her telepathy powers to gain control of Alioth. During the scene in the trailer where you see Alioth coming to consume Ant-Man's body, notice that it eats a bunch of people here too. This is part of the same scene. Deadpool and Wolverine escape it by jumping through one of the eye holes here through the portal. More on that in a second too, a lot of questions there. But look over on the left here at Cassandra Nova. She's just standing here, all casual, does not look worried about Alioth at all, like she doesn't even care what's going on. It might be that she's controlling Alioth and she plans to use him the same way that He Who Remains used Alioth to win the Kang Multiverse War. He's basically like the greatest weapon in all of time and space. Alioth is a super powerful cosmic being capable of consuming entire universes, entire timelines. So that might be why Deadpool is afraid of his X-Men universe dying. Cassandra Nova just threatens to destroy it with Alioth. This also raises a lot of God Loki questions, like if Loki is sitting in the middle of the multiverse managing everything, how do bad things continue to happen? Like, why are the Council of Kang still a problem? I still get lots of questions about that on videos. I am sure Ryan Reynolds and the writers came up with some way to explain this during the movie, some logical way that Loki isn't solving all the problems for them. And it might have something to do with the twist that they used during Loki Season 1 when Loki first got arrested and was complaining about the Avengers. Call it like the Avengers problem. So in Avengers Endgame, the Avengers mess with the timeline, doing a bunch of time travel. Their way of explaining why the Avengers weren't arrested is that He Who Remains essentially just allowed them to do that because what they were doing didn't cause the rise of a dangerous Kang variant or lead to any branch timelines that were dangerous in his eyes. So what they might say during Deadpool and Wolverine is that Loki, able to see across all the timelines, saw that Deadpool would eventually save the day with Wolverine and defeat Cassandra Nova, so we just let all this come to pass, waiting for Deadpool and Wolverine to come along and actually take care of it.
Well, that's just lazy writing.
The real reason for this on a writing level, for not having Loki fix everyone's problems, is just the issue of stakes. Like, there would be no reason to have any movies if there were never any threats, because Loki was solving all the threats. Couple more cameo scenes we found. So later in the trailer, there's a scene of Wolverine saying, "Kid, I'm no hero," talking to someone here. It sounds like he's talking to an actual kid, like he wouldn't call Deadpool a kid. The only kids that we know about that were supposed to be in the movie are Kidpool, like the Deadpool core is supposed to show up during the movie, and probably X-23. Like there's a theory that there'll be a version of Laura Kinney X-23 somewhere. Reportedly, this failed Wolverine will learn about the sacrifice and heroism of the main version of Wolverine from the events of the Logan movie, dying to save X-23. That might be what this scene is for, with him saying he's not a hero like this other version of Wolverine who died to protect X-23. I'm not like that other Wolverine. Generally, he's on a redemption arc during the movie, so it just seems like he gets a pep talk here in this moment. And it would be the perfect place to have a Laura Kinney X-23 cameo scene. A lot of you have also been asking about the Old Man Logan story just in general. The Logan movie was meant to be Fox's own version of an Old Man Logan story, but it was very different from the original comic story. In Deadpool and Wolverine, there are some more direct references to that original comic book, particularly the giant dead Ant-Man body. They don't explain how this version of Ant-Man died in the trailer. The fact that he's a skeleton makes it seem like he died in Giant Man form a long time ago and has just been here for a while. Maybe in his universe he died fighting Kang during his version of Quantumania, like he should have in the actual Marvel movie. And yes, because it is a giant Ant-Man, I fully expect there to be some kind of Thanos joke, because it's a very Deadpool thing to do. It looks like Cassandra Nova, the X-Men here, are using his entire body as their base, not just the head, meaning that there will be a cavernous area in his rear, so it'll be very like Deadpool to make a bunch of backdoor exit jokes talking about Ant-Man's butt. Here's the thing about that Doctor Strange sling ring portal too. Everybody's wondering where it came from, who made the portal. Doctor Strange, Wong, Ned Leeds, who we've seen does have magical aptitude and can open portals. I've seen so many Ned Leeds posts, I don't think it was him. There's also the issue of where the portal is taking them to. Portals typically look like this, like you can always see clearly what's on the other side of the portal, but in the trailer, they white it out like they're hiding it because it's a spoiler. Supposedly, Cassandra Nova is the one who opens the portal using a sling ring that she has acquired. Now, she isn't meant to be Sorcerer Supreme or anything like that from an alternate universe. It seems like she just ran into a version of Doctor Strange or Wong or someone who had a sling ring, killed them on the Void, and then took it. Also, why would she be portaling Deadpool and Wolverine away just as she's calling Alioth to come kill them? It might just be part of the way she messes with them in the movie and why she looks so chill here. Maybe she's just messing with them. They think Alioth is going to kill everyone, including them, but she's really the one controlling him and was never in any danger. And for those of you that haven't been watching X-Men 97 episodes, it's been bangers so far. Like, hopefully they'll have many, many more seasons. There's actually a big Cassandra Nova connection during episode 5. There's this massive attack on Genosha, a wild sentinel from the comics portals in and kills almost all the mutants. It's a scene taken directly from the E is for Extinction storyline where Cassandra Nova debuted as the main villain of that whole arc. The X-Men 97 show is changing that plot a little, and this version is part of Mr. Sinister, Bastion, and Apocalypse's long-term plans. Right now, they just want you focusing on Mr. Sinister, though, as a big Season 1 villain. We'll probably learn more about how Bastion and Apocalypse are connected to what's happening in the next couple of episodes. I don't think, though, that X-Men 97 is meant to be totally connected to what's happening in Deadpool and Wolverine, though. Like, X-Men 97 takes place in its own universe, they're kind of calling it the 90s universe, which is how they can have all the Captain America, Avengers cameo scenes, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Venom, pretty much anybody from the comics, because it's its own little thing. I'm not expecting any kind of cameo scenes from that during Deadpool and Wolverine, even though during the Spider-Verse movies, like Across the Spider-Verse, they did a blend of live action and animation. I fully expect those kinds of crossovers and cameos to get even crazier in Beyond the Spider-Verse. But I did speculate that we would see a version of Deadpool at some point during X-Men 97, but that's because Deadpool is canon to the original X-Men the animated series, but he wasn't played by Ryan Reynolds. It could be Nolan North. Ryan Reynolds could come back to voice the character. That would actually be pretty cool. For a very brief period before the big Fox Disney buyout, there was an animated Deadpool show that FX was going to do. Donald Glover was actually going to be one of the showrunners. I believe that Ryan Reynolds was going to voice that version of Deadpool. But part of the idea with doing these different versions, different universes in Deadpool and Wolverine is they can do a more comic book accurate looking Wolverine, even though his suit isn't exactly like the one from X-Men 97. This one is closer to his astonishing X-Men version of the suit. And for those of you asking, yes, the one in the yellow suit is always meant to be the same version in Deadpool and Wolverine. He just gets his sleeves and shoulder pads ripped off at some point in the movie. Rob Liefeld was also posting a bunch about the trailer, and he said that people were claiming that Hugh Jackman had CG muscles. He's like, no, I actually touched them. I was there on set the day they filmed this scene. I touched his muscles. They're very real. He also said that he personally approved the joke that they made about him and the feet. And even though I think the way they cut the trailer is meant to be kind of misleading, so like them jumping into the portal and the sling ring makes you think of them jumping into the MCU, I don't think that's exactly what's happening here, but part of the plan for Hugh Jackman's Wolverine the next several years is for him to continue playing the main version of Wolverine until after Secret Wars. I talked about this in my last video, but it's not totally clear if they're going to be in Avengers 5 or if they're only going to be in Avengers Secret Wars. We'll learn about that in the next couple of years. What'll probably happen during the movie, there'll be some kind of post-credit scene setting up Secret Wars more literally. Like we saw the Secret Wars comic book with Dr. Doom on the cover. There'll probably be some moment connected to that at the very end of the post-credit scene. But everyone, post all your reactions in the comments below. If there are any Easter eggs that you spotted in the trailer that I didn't talk about in this video or in my previous video, or any big questions that you have, just write them below in the comments. But it is going to be a really good next couple of months, like X-Men fans generally just eating really good. Everybody click here to learn about all those other Deadpool and Wolverine trailer Easter eggs, and click here for all my X-Men 97 episodes. I'll update the link as soon as I post that next episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.